Funding for the Nashvillager podcast comes from the Hal Allen Clinic, specializing in minimally invasive robotic spine surgery and laser brain tumor surgery. For 40 years, the neurosurgeons of the Hal Allen Clinic have been national leaders in brain and spine surgery.
This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager podcast. It's March 23rd, 2026. On this day in 1857, the first modern elevator was installed in a New York City building. It was what inventor Elias Otis called a safety elevator and was based on a proof of concept device that he demonstrated a few years prior at the New York World's Fair. The new passenger elevator was installed at a department store in the neighborhood New Yorkers now call Soho, and it provided a safe way for shoppers to quickly travel between the store's 5 floors of shopping displays. And in a lot of ways, that elevator set the stage for the city and so many others to profoundly change in character and height. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Before the elevator, there was a natural limit to how tall a building could be and still be a practical space for humans to use. Traditional construction hadn't yet maxed out at the height that a structure could be without becoming too weak. But except for things like the fanciest of churches or government buildings with spires and domes that exist only for their visual impact, pretty much every other structure had to be built in such a way that people could use the entire space. And there are only so many flights of stairs that architects could realistically expect folks to climb every day to get to their home or their office or store. With elevators, we can just keep shooting on up towards the sky. I wonder how many New Yorkers realized what an inflection point they'd reached when Otis first demonstrated his elevator, or when they first rode one up to the 5th floor of that store. I wonder how many people thought it was a silly, unnecessary invention, too risky to become commonplace. And on the other hand, how many looked at it in those moments and saw a new world of opportunity for building up, for fitting more square footage of living and working space on each square acre of land? Here at Nashville Public Radio, we've been talking a lot since last summer about the inflection point that our industry is in right now. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting has gone away. That tether of federal funding has been cut. The future of our business model will have to look different from what it was. Thankfully, this station is in a relatively good position, and that's entirely due to those of you in our community who made it super clear last year that you weren't going to let us take the hit from suddenly revoked federal funding. You filled that gap yourselves, donating during an emergency fund drive that plugged up the revenue hole and got us back on a relatively normal financial footing so we could move forward through the rest of the budget year, providing the reporting, the information, the connection to neighbors that you expect from our organization. It was like someone had removed the treads from some of the steps on our staircase, and you patched them up, made it safe to climb those stairs again. Now, going forward, normal has to change, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is the time to figure out the public broadcasting equivalent to the elevator. And what we believe is that Nashville Public Radio is particularly well-suited to lead the way in redefining how listener support works in public broadcasting. Because yes, you are, without question, part of that elevator. Ultimately, for all the specifics that we bring to the craft of journalism and sharing people's stories on this and other podcasts or on the radio at 90.3 FM, as specific and important as all of that is, the true secret sauce of our organization is actually you. Listener members have always been the most stable source of funding for what we do. Even before it was the biggest piece of the revenue pie, membership was the most valuable and most appreciated source of income around here. And really, that idea of a direct relationship between those of us making this informative content and those of you incorporating it into your daily routine, that relationship has always been the driving concept here. We aren't beholden to advertisers or the government. Our existence relies primarily on whether or not you decide to donate for what we have to offer. And so it's vitally important that we satisfy your curiosity, give you what you need to make informed choices, introduce you to people in our community you may not have heard from otherwise. That connection can go farther than we make content, you give money. And over the next few years, I think we're going to deepen that two-way relationship in really interesting ways. It should be an exciting time. and something that ultimately could help us grow as a service, but also help you feel even more plugged into the rich tapestry of our city and region. I wish I could get more specific. We're still very much in blue sky brainstorming mode at the moment, but I wanted to go ahead and give you a hint at where our minds are. Because the questions I get from people when I'm out and about definitely indicate to me that there's some concern. And of course, that's an element too. We're not done seeing the ripple effects from last year's funding changes. A lot of other public broadcasting stations took a bigger hit to their bottom line and are having a harder time. And that's going to affect the public radio system as a whole. But there's also room for optimism, for inspiration, for finding a new and wonderful path forward. We can only pave that path and make it a beautiful one full of community and connection with your participation. And yes, that means a donation of whatever amount of money is right for you. Give now at WPLN.org to be on the ground floor of this coming evolution of what public broadcasting can be. In just a few minutes, the victim of a mass shooting who refuses to be seen as a victim, just as she has refused in so many parts of her life. That's coming up after the newscast.
Funding for the Nashvillager podcast comes from the Hal Allen Clinic, specializing in minimally invasive robotic spine surgery and laser brain tumor surgery. For 40 years, the neurosurgeons of the Hal Allen Clinic have been national leaders in brain and spine surgery.
I'm music and culture reporter Justin Barney, and I like doing weird stories. And because we're funded by listeners, I get to do weird stories, and you get to hear them. Like last year, I did this story about the Lost Wave community on Reddit and how one of their users in the Middle East tracked down a song that was put on a mixtape 2 decades ago and thought to be lost to time, but it was actually made by a bartender in Nashville when he was 18 years old. Keep weird stories alive by supporting public radio at WPLN.org.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. A bipartisan push for affordable housing is dead this year after Democrats clashed in the Tennessee House. WPLN Power and Equity reporter Mariana Bacchiao has more.
It's not often Democrats in Tennessee's Republican supermajority get a lot of support on their legislation. Senator Charlene Oliver's Homes Not Hedge Fund Act passed the Senate almost unanimously. But in the House,
fails for the lack of a second.
It failed in the early stages because Democratic Representative Bo Mitchell didn't second a motion to even consider the bill. Oliver says that's because Representative Afton Bain was the House sponsor, and there's still tension after she beat Mitchell in the primary for a special congressional race last year.
My community is looking for relief. And as small of an action that Bo Mitchell took, it is a microcosm of the problems we are facing as a party in this country. We are not meeting the moment to do what's necessary to fight back and be the true opposition party that we need to be to secure wins for our communities.
After receiving backlash, Mitchell signed one of his bills over to Bain for her to resurrect it. The proposal failed again, having never been heard in the House. Mariana Bacchiao, WPLN News.
CVS has been on a media blitz opposing the Fair RX Act. WPLN's Catherine Sweeney tells us the state bill would regulate pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, middlemen who negotiate with drug makers, sellers, and insurers.
It would force big pharmacies to get rid of a PBM company if they own one. CVS has been the poster child of this debate. The parent company owns that PBM and the major insurer, Aetna, and a major pharmacy retailer, and a chain of clinics. This vertical integration doesn't automatically mean unfair practices, but it does create a lot of opportunity for them. An audit by the Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance raised a long list of concerns. For example, the PBM was getting insurers to pay CVS 5 times more than other pharmacies for several schizophrenia drugs.
The bill will be sent to committee hearings tomorrow and Wednesday. You can hear the full story at WPLN.org. A teacher at Gallatin High School has been charged with sexual battery by an authority figure, false imprisonment, and simple assault. News Channel 5 reports the charges stem from an alleged incident involving a student. A school administrator got tipped off that criminal justice teacher Jamie Owens had acted inappropriately with a student. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office investigated and took Owens into custody. He's suspended without pay while the case proceeds. The Sheriff's Office is asking those with more information to come forward. The owner of an East Nashville property that was illegally demolished has been ordered to rebuild. Ross Condit and Condit Properties is the owner of what was a house from 1921. The property, located on Calvin Avenue, was formerly home to the Groove Record Store. Condit, the owner, demolished the property last month without seeking the proper permits. Condit then applied for a retroactive permit, citing the building's poor condition. Instead, the Nashville Banner reports, Metro's Historic Zoning Commission has recommended that the owner apply to build a new structure that is very similar to the demolished one. The city's also flagged all properties owned by the company, preventing them from applying for new permits. At the commission's public hearing, Condit appeared to offer a public apology, saying the city could expect his full cooperation. The Nashville Airport has dedicated over $4.5 billion towards its development over the last decade, but the expansion's not complete. The Tennessean reports the next project for the site will be a $900 million parking garage and rental car facility. It will mark the fourth parking garage built since 2018 and will add 3,000 parking spaces, 4,700 rental car spots, and new connections to roadways. Airport authority leaders say the addition will help improve traffic around the airport and prevent gridlocks. Leaders say a fifth garage will likely be necessary eventually. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Erica Pfizer owns a hot brunch place in Nashville called Roasted. It was the site of a mass shooting in 2024. One person died, and Erica was among those who were shot in the incident. In February, she joined our daily show, This is Nashville, and talked about how she doesn't think of herself as a victim and never has, even though she grew up with a mother battling addiction and had to raise her siblings.
When you talk about becoming a statistic, you kind of became a statistic in that moment. But I'm hearing you say that you never thought of it like that.
I didn't. And I was a statistic when I was a kid, when my mother was a drug addict. So I've always been a statistic. I was a statistic not knowing who my father is. So I've been a statistic. So that was just added to, what I already was. So, but I never looked at myself, as singled out. I've just always looked at myself as great. I don't know where I got that from. I mean, I know my grandmother, but it's just another light in me that allowed me to have this confidence and this light that I have.
People use the term a lot of times like kind of, I'm going to break the cycle. But I'm not hearing you use that kind of language like, it's my job to break this cycle. Name any of those statistics that you just ticked through. Is that part of what drives you?
Oh, for sure. I hate that you haven't heard that from me, because that is one of my biggest things, is breaking the cycle and breaking generational curses. And I have done that within my immediate family. I've broke the cycle from my siblings. They're taking different paths. I'm the one that's taking the better path. Both of my kids have graduated from school. They wasn't young parents. They're doing good in this world as young adults. So I have most definitely broke the cycle. I've broken the cycle of a teen mom. And those that are around me that came from similar situations.
Yeah, and I guess what I meant was I don't hear you even sort of talking about it like a cycle, almost this victim piece that you sort of almost need someone to say, like, well, that was you who couldn't finish high school because you ended up having a child so young, and the mom who was not around because she was struggling with addiction. That almost you have this light and this confidence that makes it almost where somebody else has to show you the negatives that you've been up against.
You're right. No, and I do not latch on it, because I really don't look at myself like it'll take someone else to tell my story for me to realize, oh, wow, you're right. My daughter once told me that she was like, I'm not taking it from nobody. My mama came from da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I did,
You're saying that your daughter is even telling your story in a way that you don't. You're like, well, I guess those things are true, and you put those facts in the right order, and it sounds like I overcame a lot here.
Yeah, and it was her one day that said that. She's like, I don't want to hear nothing. Like, when people complaining about life or what they can and can't do. She was telling me that one day on the phone, and it made me feel so good, because I'm like, wow, like that. My story alone, outside of my parenting, has helped her. But it's like, she's like, she don't take no stuff, and my story is a part of the reason.
Well, that's really beautiful. If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville. I'm your host, Blake Farmer. Our guest is Erica Pfizer, owner of Roasted, who has lived through a lot and has got her restaurant back up and running after a mass shooting on Easter Sunday of 2024. Just the latest of many hurdles she's experienced. When you, I think a lot of folks think, well, if I could just get to this, if I could just get that. Then everything will be okay. And I wonder how you feel with the restaurant. If you've been thinking, well, if I can get it across this line, I know we'll be set, and I can move on to worrying about other things.
That is true. It's like we were just getting our feet on the ground at the other place. So it's like we kind of started over. But one thing that keeps me going is the more successful you want to be, the more hurdles you're gonna, come across. So, yes, that is exactly how I think. I'm waiting on that time where I'm just like, okay, we can take this deep breath. But yes, we were almost there at the last place. That's why I know my vision is nothing compared to what my life is going to be.
That was an excerpt from an episode of This is Nashville that originally aired in February. During this Fund Drive week, we will be looking back at some of those profile conversations that have happened on This is Nashville. You can also find those full conversations in the This is Nashville podcast feed. But we do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.
Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the Hal Allen Clinic, specializing in minimally invasive robotic spine surgery and laser brain tumor surgery. For 40 years, the neurosurgeons of the Hal Allen Clinic have been national leaders in brain and spine surgery.